Thanks for coming. I'm Steve Silverman. I'm from AudioQuest. We're a cable manufacturer. We recently became a hardware manufacturer. We make a DAC. I'm going to try and keep this as non-AudioQuest as possible. This is not going to be a product plug. What I want to do is I want to take you guys through basic computer audio setup. So I got just a couple of questions just to gauge the audience and see where everybody's at. Who uses Apple? Who's an Apple user here? Oh my gosh. Okay, who uses the other thing? Okay, so it's kind of 50-50. I actually do both. I was being a smart aleck. I use both, and there's good reason, and I'll discuss that. So I had originally tailored this to the very basics of getting off the ground and flying. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to cover might be redundant for a lot of the people in this audience because it seems like we've got a lot of experienced people here. But there may be still some things that you find interesting. So I'm going to go through this as if we're all new to computer audio, and if you're falling asleep, I'll move faster. So welcome. Thank you very much. So we already know what we need as system requirements. We need at least Windows XP, Vista, or 7, and we need to have Apple OS X going forward. So there's a couple of recommendations I make if you're going to build.
I'd like to go back just one step.
Sure.
I have an old G5 with Motorola. Should I leave the room?
No, not at all. Not at all. We'll let you stay. We'll let you stay. Let's vote on it. Should he leave? It looks like you can stay.
A lot of the software you look at now is Intel only.
Yes.
And it's getting frustrating.
Well, it's time marches forward, and you might want to upgrade. And well, I'll talk about different. I just gave up my abacus, so. No, there's very, very inexpensive solutions to upgrading these days. So we'll talk about some of that stuff as we move forward. But the reason you want to have these are our minimum requirements. We need to have operating systems that can handle the different type of music players that have all the USB audio drivers built into them and things like that. So really, these are the basic requirements that you need to get yourself up and running. So some of the things I recommend are, let's talk about our computer and let's talk about the infrastructure of the computer. And one of the things I recommend, if it's possible for you, it's not always an available luxury, but if you can have a computer that you can just dedicate to your audio system, it makes your life a whole lot easier. That way you're not encumbering the computer with a lot of other heavy processes, and you're saving space and you're saving resources. Some of the things you want to look at are the amount of memory your computer has. So you want to start, I think, with a minimum of 2 GB of RAM, which I think at this point, this day and age, it's almost impossible to buy a computer with anything less than 2 GB of RAM. Something that everybody learns early on with computers is the more RAM you have, the better the system will sound. So 2 gig sounds good, 4 gig sounds better, 8 gig sounds phenomenal. Now we're getting up to 16 gig capability with laptops and beyond. The more RAM you have, the better your playback is going to sound, especially on a computer, because computers they're resource intensive, and oftentimes they're using a tremendous amount of their memory. What can happen with your computer if you're doing a lot of stuff beyond just audio? You may run into a situation if you have a low amount of RAM, say something like 2 GB of RAM. You may run into a situation where you actually run out of memory. You run out of RAM. And if you've ever been to a recording studio, if you've ever looked at the workstations that they're using there, those guys typically have 32-bit, 64, or 32 gigabyte, 64 gigabyte, and even beyond that in terms of memory. The recording engineers have known for years that you want more memory. More memory is going to give you higher performance. Solid-state drives sound a lot better than spinning disks. That doesn't necessarily mean you want to go out and buy a solid-state drive, because it gets expensive if your music collection is large. But one of the things I recommend you do is your internal hard drive in your computer should be a solid state drive. All of your applications in your operating system, if they're running from a solid state drive, the system will sound far better. The other thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we keep our music on a completely separate hard drive from our operating systems and our applications, because we don't want the computer having to poll and find the music data and run the applications all from one single location. You'll find just moving your music library to an external hard drive, you get higher fidelity sound. So with external hard drives, it tends to be, who here has 1,000 CDs or more? Okay, who's got 5,000 CDs? So you start to get into these big collections, and it gets expensive if you do solid state, and it's still well beyond my reach. I have about 3 terabytes worth of music at home, and so 3 terabytes is solid state, and my wife would throw me out of the house. It's too expensive. So what I look for is I look for high performance spinning disk drives, and the things I look at are the RPM, the size of the cache, the read speed, the write speed. The faster all these things are, it seems the higher quality sound you get. It's amazing the difference in hard drive sound. So I've had some Western Digitals and Seagates at home, and they sound okay. What I found is a company called OWC. If you go to macsales.com, these guys sell really high performance drives that genuinely sound better than the average drive you would buy at a department store. They typically use, right now they're onto Hitachi. They're using Hitachi drives, and the Hitachi drives sound absolutely phenomenal. So everything, what you're going to take away from this is that everything makes a difference. And if you're spending a lot of time listening to this stuff and tweaking, you'll be surprised at the differences that you'll hear. So I like OWC or macsales.com as my resource. I buy all my RAM from them. I buy my hard drives from them. The thing I like about a site like that is they take all the guesswork out of it. They sell the highest quality RAM. They sell the highest quality drives. I know that whatever I pick from them, I'm going to get the best product for the price. So we want to keep our music library on an external hard drive. The other thing I recommend is when you format your hard drives. Does everybody know about hard drive formatting? You have OS journaled. An OS journaled hard drive would mean that it could only be read by a Mac computer. There's 2 formats called FAT and exFAT. I recommend that you use exFAT if your operating system, if your computer has exFAT built into it. If it doesn't, go to FAT. The one limitation with FAT is your folders can only be 4 gigabytes, and I think the whole partition can only be 2 terabytes. So depending on how big your music collection is, FAT might not work for you. exFAT gets rid of all those limitations. And the thing I like about exFAT is you might wind up boot camping your computer. So thank you very much. In terms of connectivity of a hard drive, your connectivity is a big deal. So it seemed like a lot of people are doing computer audio. Who's doing USB DACs? Who's using a USB DAC? Okay, a lot of you are. Who has a USB DAC and they have their hard drive connected over USB? That's good. Okay, good. You don't necessarily want to do that. What happens is you can congest the USB bus. So if you're using a USB DAC, you'll get higher performance if you can connect your hard drive in some other fashion. If you could use something like eSATA, if you could use FireWire, or if you put things on a NAS and you came in over Ethernet, you'll greatly reduce the performance of your computer audio playback if you have the hard drive and the DAC on the USB bus at the same time. You congest the bus, and you're asking the bus to do 2 completely different processes at the same time, and it's just not that sophisticated.
So the DAC is on a USB 2 port, and the external drive is on a Thunderbolt or USB 3 port. Those are different buses?
They can be. Well, it's a different bus if it's Thunderbolt, but that doesn't necessarily always mean that the USB 3 and the USB 2 bus aren't tied together. It just depends on the computer's architecture. So It's trial by fire. Okay, oh, I'm sorry.
What about if we're using multiple internal hard drives? Like in RAID configuration?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
I mean, is the internal storage, is it okay if I have the operating system and my, all of my software on one drive, and then on a separate hard drive, I've got all of my storage?
I think it would be. I've seen a lot of guys at the show this year who have a lot of computer audio experience that are doing that. So I think that you would be okay. Yeah, it'd be a different bus. I think you'd be okay. So a couple of, who's using, we have more questions?
Yeah, how about like an iSCSI protocol?
I didn't even know what that is. I know, I just don't know what it is. I don't, I'm going to have to Google that and figure out how it works and get back to you next year. I'm not perfect. I'm not an expert. I'm an enthusiast.
Just something, just from the interject, as far as internal RAID configuration.
The Apple users here, are you using iTunes? Who's using iTunes? Okay. I want to demystify iTunes a little bit. I get a lot of questions. We get a lot of emails sent to us at AudioQuest. People want to know things about iTunes. The first question, the most common question we get from consumers is iTunes bit perfect? And the answer is yes, it can be. It's up to you. So iTunes can actually be a bit perfect music player. That doesn't mean it sounds perfect, but it can be bit perfect. One of the downsides to iTunes is it doesn't support FLAC. Are there a lot of people here using FLAC? A lot of people using FLAC. So you have to get converters if you want to convert from FLAC to Apple lossless or AIFF. The most frustrating thing with iTunes is it doesn't detect the sample rate of your file and then change the output to match that. But there are some solutions to that. A couple things that I find improve the performance of your computer audio system greatly. Line conditioning. I found that moving all my computer peripherals onto a separate line conditioner. Mechanical isolation is also, I find, important with hard drives. These are turntables. They just happen to spin at 7,200 RPM. But we found that putting mechanical isolation devices under your hard drive or your NAS or RAID or anything like that will give you a little bit more punch, a little bit more dynamic breath to the system. And those things can be relatively inexpensive. But these hard drives really benefit from isolation. And if we have time, I'll do a couple of demos and we can listen to a hard drive with or without isolation. And this is a shameless plug, but cables make a difference. I'm not going to do that here because I don't want to turn this into an infomercial, but if you guys want to come upstairs, we're in room 9004, and we can play USB cables for you either from an iPod or from a computer, and you can listen for yourself. We also have Ethernet cables, so you can listen to cables and see if they make a difference. They also make a difference from the external hard drive. We make FireWire cables. I think we're the only company I've seen making real high-performance FireWire cables because we found by accident that the cable from the hard drive to the computer actually made a difference. And again, we can demo that upstairs if you want to come by and see that. I guess we're good to go. I really appreciate you guys coming. Thank you very much.